We don't talk about this in public, not in temples, not in churches, not even in most spiritual communities. But if you've walked the path of the dark chosen one, you already know what I'm about to say. There are forces, ancient forces, that don't come from the heavens. They rise from below, from the forgotten realms, the realms where angels dare not tread. And inside those forbidden places lie the rarest powers, gifts so raw, so dangerous, so untamed, that only those who've been forged in shadow can handle them. These are not the angelic gifts of healing and light. These are the primordial codes from the demonic realms. Not evil, not malicious, but elemental. These powers are not given. They are survived. And if you're hearing this, then maybe, just maybe, your soul remembers what it means to descend into darkness and return with fire in your hands. The first of the 7 rarest powers is what I call echo sight. It's the ability to see the truth behind the truth, but only through pain. You don't get this power from meditation. You get it by walking through betrayal, by holding someone's hand while they lie to your face, by being shattered again and again until your eyes no longer see through illusion, but through imprint. When you embody echo sight, you don't just see someone's words, you feel their frequency. You know what they really mean, even when they don't. You see the web of trauma behind their choices, the karmic residue behind their smiles. This is a power born from demonic realms because it comes through distortion, through navigating lies so thick that your nervous system becomes a precision tool for truth. But here's the cost. You'll never see the world the same again. You'll lose the comfort of ignorance, and in its place, you gain clarity that cuts like a blade. The second power is soul poison transmutation. This one is brutal and sacred. It's the ability to ingest energetic poison from others and transmute it into medicine. Not metaphorically. Literally. You've probably already done it. You sit with someone in their rage, their grief, their energetic filth, and somehow you absorb it. You process it in your body. You feel sick. You cry for no reason. Your dreams get darker. And then something shifts. Their pain begins to alchemize inside you. And what comes out isn't just healing, it's initiation. You become the furnace for their unprocessed energy. But this power is not for the faint of heart. If you don't know how to ground, protect, and purge, you'll drown in the poison. That's why only dark chosen ones can wield it. Because we've died and resurrected so many times, we've become immune to spiritual toxins. Not because they don't affect us, but because we know how to burn them into gold. The third rarest power is dimensional anchoring. This gift doesn't lift you up, it pulls energy down. You become a walking portal between realms. You don't just meditate into the higher planes, you drag them into the density of the earth. This is why people feel different around you, why electronics glitch, why time bends, why spirits follow you. You're not a channel, you're an anchor. And that means you carry the weight of multiple realities in your field. That's why your body hurts. That's why your sleep is never restful. That's why you can't relate to most people. You're stabilizing dimensions just by existing. This power comes from the demonic realms because it's rooted in density. You're not floating in bliss. You're rooted in chaos. And from that chaos, You hold the structure of realities that haven't even manifested yet. But again, there's a cost. Your nervous system becomes a battlefield, and your only salvation is embodiment. If you can't stay grounded, you'll either lose your mind or explode someone else's. And now I ask you the first of many real questions. Have you ever felt like you were holding pain that wasn't yours? Nightmares that didn't belong to your life? Or wisdom that came from a source too ancient to name? If yes, then you've already been touched by the demonic realms. Not possessed, but activated. These realms don't seek to control, they seek to test. And if you pass, they reveal gifts that no light being could ever offer. Gifts forged in collapse, in failure, in madness, in silence so loud it breaks your bones. But once you pass through it, once you claim the darkness instead of fearing it, you begin to tap into the fourth rarest power, descent recall. This is the ability to remember your soul's dark lifetimes. Not just the past lives where you were a priestess or healer, but the ones where you were the villain, the tyrant, the destroyer. This power doesn't make you proud, it makes you humble. Because you remember what your soul is capable of when distorted. And you use that memory to choose integrity with precision. Descent recall is terrifying at first. You'll have visions that make no sense. You'll feel guilt for things you've never done in this life. You'll hear echoes of rituals, contracts, and bloodlines you don't consciously understand. But if you stay with it, if you listen, you'll begin to reclaim aspects of yourself that were locked away for eons. You'll stop trying to be good, and instead, you'll become whole. And that's where power lives, not in purity, but in integration. When you remember your darkest selves without shame, you stop judging others. You stop fearing evil. You start becoming an alchemist of reality itself. Because you've been both the light and the shadow. And now you're the bridge. The fifth power is chaos channeling. This is not about control. It's about surrendering to the storm. Chaos channelers are the ones who can walk into a crisis and become still. Not because they're calm, but because they understand that chaos is coded. They can hear the instructions inside the destruction. They know how to ride the breakdown until it reveals the breakthrough. This power comes from the demonic realms because it requires you to abandon every plan, every structure, every identity you built to survive. It strips you of ego, of safety, of logic. And in that void, you become the voice of the moment. You speak what no one dares to say. You move in ways that disrupt timelines. You act as the storm's intelligence. But again, this power has a price. You'll be misunderstood, feared, accused. Because when you channel chaos, you threaten illusions. And illusions don't die quietly. And this is where I want to ask you something that might change your life. Can you hold a power that makes others afraid of you and still choose love? Can you be so rooted in your own darkness that you never use it to dominate, only to dismantle what no longer serves? This is the mark of a true dark chosen one, not how much power you hold, but how little you need to prove it. The sixth power is covenant breaking. This is the ability to sever ancient soul contracts, not just for yourself, but for others. You don't just break patterns, you break systems. You walk into bloodlines and collapse the curses. You enter toxic relationships and end karmic loops that have lasted lifetimes. You don't just heal wounds. You evaporate the structures that created them. But this power only activates after you've broken your own contracts with suffering. Only after you've said, "This stops with me," and meant it. Covenant breaking is violent in its grace. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for consensus. It simply moves. And when it does, everything false begins to shake. That's why people either love you or leave you. Your energy disrupts their soul contracts. You trigger their timelines to come into question. And that's not always welcomed, but it's necessary, because you're not here to be liked. You're here to be a frequency of liberation. You're here to end what never should have begun, to collapse what was built on fear, to destroy, not for the sake of chaos, but for the sake of clearing the path for truth. And finally, the seventh rarest power from the demonic realms is reality possession. This is not about demons entering you. It's about you entering reality, fully, without filters, without fear. You don't just live in the world. You possess it. Your will becomes creative force. Your desire shapes outcomes. Your intention bends probability. But this only happens when your soul is so integrated that the universe recognizes you as a law unto yourself. You don't manifest like others. You command timelines, but only because you've earned the right. Only because you've walked through every fire and came out with your essence intact. And when that happens, reality begins to obey you. The forbidden flame. How to activate demonic powers without being consumed by them. There is a reason these powers are not taught in modern temples or sacred schools. Not because they are evil, but because they are too dangerous for the uninitiated. You can't activate the forbidden flame with good intentions alone. You need capacity. You need integration. You need to know your own darkness so well that when it rises to meet you in its most ancient, primal form, you don't flinch. You don't run. You merge. The demonic realms are not a place of possession. They are a realm of raw truth. And when you enter them consciously, with discipline and precision, you activate the powers most would never dare to touch. But activation without embodiment is destruction. That's why so many powerful souls burn themselves out or collapse into madness. Because they open the gates, but they're still fragmented, still afraid of their own shadow, still chasing light while denying the very soil their roots are buried in. The forbidden flame is not lit by rage. It's lit by remembrance. You don't chase these powers. They awaken when you become available to their frequency. The first step is purification, not by becoming more pure, but by removing what is not true. You must strip away every performance, every belief you inherited because it was safe, every identity you built to survive. You must be willing to lose who you were taught to be, to become who you actually are. And when you do, you begin to vibrate at the threshold of the demonic gate. You feel it in your bones, in your breath, in your blood. You feel the ancient flame stirring in your womb, in your gut, in your spine. And the moment you stop trying to control it, that's when the first spark ignites. Not through effort, but through permission. You become the vessel, and the flame enters. But this is where most fall, because the first taste of that power is intoxicating. You suddenly feel seen by forces older than time. You feel invincible, like you could burn down entire belief systems with a single word. And you can, but should you? That's the test. The forbidden flame will give you power, yes, but it also watches how you use it. If you use it to dominate, it will turn on you. If you use it to bypass your inner work, it will collapse you. If you try to own it, it will own you. That's why humility is the only shield strong enough to withstand the pressure of this level of power. You must bow not to the flame itself, but to the responsibility that comes with holding it. Because once activated, this power doesn't turn off. It lives in your field. It pulses in your eyes. It moves through your voice. And if your ego is still in control, it will become a weapon of distortion instead of a force of liberation. So how do we hold the flame without being consumed by it? The answer is ritual embodiment. You must anchor your power into your body every single day, not through dogma, but through devotion. You must ground yourself into the earth, breathe into your pain, speak to the parts of you that still feel unsafe and remind them, we are not being punished. We are being remembered. You must move your body like it's a temple, not a prison. You must nourish yourself like you are feeding a god. You must treat your silence as sacred as your speech. Because holding demonic power is not about being loud. It's about being clear. The clearer you become, the more precise your flame burns. It doesn't lash, it refines. It doesn't destroy, it dissolves. And eventually it stops being something you use and becomes something you are. Let me ask you something that could change how you move through this world. What if your rage, your grief, your lust, your fear were not symptoms to fix, but altars to bow to? What if each of these emotions were doorways into deeper capacity? What if the forbidden flame feeds on your willingness to feel fully without judgment, without control, without performance? That's the real initiation, to feel everything, to hold the intensity of your own soul without collapsing. And once you do, the flame begins to cleanse you, not gently, but surgically. You'll lose relationships. You'll outgrow communities. You'll shed ideologies you once preached, not because you're broken, but because you're being reforged. And the more you surrender, the more your flame becomes a frequency of liberation for others. You don't even have to touch them, they feel it in your field. They feel your sovereignty. And it either scares them or awakens them. You see, the demonic realms are not interested in your comfort. They are interested in your capacity. And capacity is built in the void, and in the silence, in the heartbreak, in the moments where no one sees you, no one validates you, and you still choose to burn clean. That's when the sixth and seventh powers from before covenant breaking and reality possession become activated at scale. You don't just collapse personal contracts. You start to collapse collective ones. You walk into a room and the energy shifts. You speak one sentence and someone's life changes. You don't even need to explain yourself, your presence becomes a spell. But not a spell of manipulation, a spell of remembrance. And that's when you realize the forbidden flame was never dangerous. It was sacred. It was only destructive to the parts of you that were never real to begin with. But here's the final secret: the forbidden flame is not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It moves through you. You are its temple, not its owner. And the moment you try to possess it, it slips through your fingers. Because this power, this raw, ancient, demonic force was never meant to be owned. It was meant to be honored, and the only ones who can honor it are the ones who have died enough times to know they are not their persona, not their name, not their brand, not even their mission. They are conduits. And when you become a conduit, you don't just create change, you become it. So now I ask you, are you willing to become the one thing your ego can't survive? Are you willing to burn without a name, without applause, without safety, just to become the vessel of a flame that could tear this world open and rebuild it in truth? If yes, then you already know what's happening in your body. You already feel the pulse, the pressure, the fire in your bones. That's the call. That's the summoning. And if you're still here, still listening, then maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to be anything but the fire itself. The authority of fire. Why demonic power doesn't make you evil, it makes you unstoppable. There's a moment when the flame no longer feels foreign, when the pressure in your bones becomes a rhythm, when the rawness that once terrified you starts to feel like home. That's when you realize something most people will never understand. Demonic power does not make you evil. It makes you undeniable. This is the final stage of the path. The stage where you stop explaining. You stop apologizing for your intensity. You stop hiding the frequency of your truth just to make others comfortable. You understand now that your fire is not rage, it's remembrance. It's not destruction, it's refinement. And you no longer carry it like a secret. You carry it like a crown. Not because you want to rule, but because you've become sovereign. You've earned your flame. You've walked through the gates of hell and came back with authority. And now, the world bends around your presence, not because you demand it, but because your energy commands it. But what is authority, really? Not the kind the world gives you. Not titles. Not followers. Not fame. I'm talking about energetic authority. The kind that makes spirits pause when you enter a room. The kind that makes karmic systems tremble when you wake up. The kind that can collapse illusions just by speaking truth without emotion. You don't get that kind of authority from affirmations or journal prompts. You get it by embodying your dissent, by refusing to bypass your grief, by holding space for your rage without projecting it, by being so deeply integrated that you become the ground others walk on to return to themselves. This is why demonic power is so misunderstood, because it doesn't sparkle. It doesn't float. It roots. It makes you dense with presence. And in that density, you become unshakable. You no longer need to be loud. You no longer need to be seen. You no longer chase anything, because you've become the axis of your own reality. Time bends around you. Opportunities find you. People either awaken near you or disappear. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. And the deeper your alignment, the less you tolerate distortion. You don't entertain falsehoods. You don't negotiate with manipulation. You don't engage in spiritual pageantry. You simply exist as a frequency of fire and let reality adjust accordingly. And here's the part no one tells you. This level of power is silent. Not because it lacks intensity, but because it is complete. It doesn't seek. It doesn't prove. It simply is. And when you reach this level, you stop using your flame to fight. You start using it to forge. But let me offer you a warning wrapped in truth. Power that is not contained will always become poison. That is why the final mastery of demonic power is not in how much you activate, it's in how much you can contain without leaking. Can you hold your fire without burning everyone around you? Can you walk through war without becoming war? Can you speak with precision instead of projection? Because the final test of the dark chosen one is not whether you can hold power, it's whether you can refine it into wisdom. Every power we've spoken of, echo sight, soul poison transmutation, dimensional anchoring, descent recall, chaos channeling, covenant breaking, reality possession, each one is a blade. The immature swing it wildly. The master places it on the altar and waits for the moment to strike with exactness. That is the difference between sorcery and sovereignty. And now I ask you, can you be trusted with power that could collapse a soul or awaken it in one breath? Can you be so responsible for your own frequency that others feel safe unraveling in your presence, not because you save them, but because you see them? Because that is the true authority of fire. You don't just hold power, you become a sanctuary for it. You walk through the world like a living prayer, not soft, but sacred, not passive, but precise. You are no longer here to convince anyone. You are here to burn clean. And in doing so, you give others permission to rise from their own ashes. That is what the demonic realms have given you, not chaos, but clarity, not fear, but force, not ego, but essence. The final transformation happens when you stop seeing these powers as tools and start seeing them as aspects of your being. You don't use echo sight, you are echo sight. You don't do chaos channeling, you are the storm's intelligence. You don't practice reality possession, you live as the axis of collapsing timelines. These are not skills. They are frequencies of embodiment. And when you reach this level, the world begins to respond to your soul, not your persona. You become the archetype that others dream about but can never name. The one who walks in silence but speaks in thunder. The one whose presence feels like both danger and home. The one who was sent not to fit in, but to break the grid. And here's the last question I'll leave you with. Now that you've remembered who you are, what will you do with the flame? Will you hide it, perform it, or will you live it fully, unapologetically, wisely? Because the world doesn't need more light right now. It needs more truth, more fire. More souls who have walked through their own hell and returned with the codes of liberation. And those souls are you, us, the dark chosen ones. The ones who remember the names that were never spoken. The ones who carry frequencies that were never written. The ones who were never meant to be saved because we are the saviors we were waiting for. You are not here to be safe. You are here to be sovereign. You are not here to ascend. You are here to anchor. You are not here to be liked. You are here to ignite. And now that you carry the flame, burn clean, burn true, burn free.